Hello my friends, this is a very impromptu video. I just got off of chat. I do a weekly chat for my What's Up in Makeup news show, and we talked about drugstore eyeshadow palettes this week. And as I was cleaning up, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get rid of some of these palettes. I was like, well, I might as well shoot a video showing you me getting rid of them. But if you'd like more information about these palettes, go ahead and click the link down below. It'll take you to the chat. It is kind of long, but you can kind of skip through and fast forward when you see a palette that you're interested in, and you know, hear more about what and why I'm decluttering them. But we'll go through them just very quickly about why I'm decluttering certain ones and why I'm keeping them. We're gonna go ahead and just go through each palette, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm keeping it or why I'm getting rid of it. So this is the NYX The To-Go palette, Le Palette Indispensable, and this is in the shade Wanderlust. This is a fantastic palette. I'm keeping that. Great pigmentation, great lasting power. Same with the NYX Avant Pop. I'm keeping that. It's wonderful. This is in the shade Surreal. Great quality from NYX. NYX is very hit or miss in quality. These two happen to be excellent palettes. The Morphe Brushes 35N palette. I'm actually going to declutter this. This is something that I do not reach for. It's just the lasting power isn't great for me. They're good eyeshadows, but they're not great for me. And for whatever reason, I'm just not reaching for it. So I'm going to get rid of that and pass that along. I am going to keep the one that I built though from Morphe. This is the one that I built. I like the shimmery shades from Morphe better than I like the matte shades. This has more of the shimmery shades, so I am going to keep this one. The Revlon Color Stay Not Just Nudes palette, Romantics palettes, I am going to declutter this one. I just don't reach for it, and the lasting power isn't great, so I'm gonna pass that along. This is the NYX box of eyeshadows. I have had this thing forever. This is the palette that I let my kids play with, so I am going to keep this just for that purpose. But it isn't a bad eyeshadow palette. It's just kind of old, and you know, I don't reach for it, but I'm gonna keep it just for like play fun purposes. Here are the Coastal Scents Revealed palettes. I'm kind of torn about what I want to do with these because they are nice to have as comparison palettes, but I think I'm just going to use them for, I think I'm going to declutter them based on what I would use. So we're going to keep the original Reveal palette. We're going to pass along the Revealed 2 and the Revealed 3. Those were not my favorites, and I'm going to keep the Revealed Smoky palette. This is the Absolute Rose by Catrice. I am going to pass this along. This is one that I don't think I'm going to reach for much, even though it is a nice eyeshadow palette. The shades kind of muddy together for me, so I'm going to go ahead and pass that along. I am going to keep the Essence All About Grays. I feel like this is a really nice gray eyeshadow palette to have, and I really enjoy using it. It is a supplemental palette because there isn't a whole lot of variation, of course, because it's the grays, but it's nice to have grays on hand if I need them. I'm going to declutter the Blush Nudes palette. This is not a palette that I reach for. Just the pigmentation just isn't there. There is a market for this. This is for people that want a very neutral, very light. It's a great teenager palette, a great starter palette for someone that isn't used to wearing eyeshadow, because you can't really mess it up because the pigmentation just isn't really popping on that one. So I am going to get rid of this one because I think someone else will love it more than I do. I am going to keep this Coastal Scents eyeshadow palette that I built. I really like this a lot. I love the pigmentation of it. It's kind of my fall palette that I built, so I'm going to keep that. The Backstage Collection by Jessie's Girl. This is not a good palette. It's powdery. It's just not, it doesn't have good pigmentation. The shades muddy together. It's just not a good palette. This Coastal Scents palette I'm also going to keep. It's got some bright, fun colors in it. I don't reach for it much. Okay, I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna pass this along. I'm never gonna reach for this. I know I'm never gonna reach for it, even though it's a nice collection of eyeshadows. I'm never gonna reach for it. I'm passing it along. These here, these are the Hard Candy Natural Eyes, Smoky Eyes, and Sassy Eyes. I never reach for these. These two are not good. This one is pretty good, but I don't reach for it, so I'm going to pass it along to someone that may reach for it. This is another one. You know what? I am going to keep this one because this really is a good palette. This is the Hard Candy Birthday Suit palette, and it's all mattes. It's a really nice palette. I don't reach for it enough, and I think part of the reason why I don't reach for it is because it's so cluttered in all of the rest of this. So I'm going to actually I am going to keep this one. Along those lines, this one is the Hard Candy Rated X palette. This one I don't reach for. I'm never going to reach for it. I'm going to get rid of this. Or let's see, I just got this. This is the Makeup Revolution Salvation palette. This is Girls on Film. I just bought this. I love it. It's wonderful. Pigmentation is fantastic. I'm going to keep that definitely. For L'Oreal lip palettes, I am going to keep the La Palette 1 and I'm going to pass along the La Palette 2. This one is not shades that I typically reach for, even though it is a good palette and it has very nice lasting power, but it's just not a palette that I ever reach for. This one, on the other hand, does have shades that I will reach for, so I am going to keep that. Wet n Wild Comfort Zone. This is staying. I love this palette. It is a must-have for me, a must-have for so many people that I know. If you don't own this palette, I definitely recommend you pick it up. It's just one of those iconic, awesome drugstore palettes that I feel like everybody of every skin tone should own. It's $5. It's amazing. These two here were limited edition Wet n Wild palettes. I am going to pass along the Going Into the Wild. I never reach for this, even though it's a really, really nice palette. I never reach for it. I am going to keep the Nude Awakening. There are some shades in here that I do reach for occasionally. It's really, really high quality. It's wonderful. I'm going to keep that. This here was a really funny palette. I got this in a Beauty Box 5, and it's just a goofy, goofy palette. It's getting stuck. I don't even know what to do with this one. I think I'm going to give this to Lila, my daughter, to play with, and this will be my gift to her. I'm never going to use this, even though these eyeshadows actually are pretty good. I'm never going to use it, so I'm going to pass it along to Lila. BH Cosmetics Galaxy Chic Palette. I really, really like this. The blendability of these shadows is wonderful. Lasting power is wonderful. You have to use other palettes with it in order for it to work well, because, you know, it doesn't have any transition colors, doesn't have any matte shades, so it's definitely a supplemental palette, but really, really fun to work with. Pigmentation is great. And again, if you want to see swatches of a lot of these, just go to that chat and you'll be able to see swatches of a lot of these palettes. All right, Milani. I just bought this recently. It doesn't work well for me. Lasting power is not good. I'm going to pass it along. This one is called the Must Have Neutrals. The Carly Bible palette. I love this from BH Cosmetics. It's a wonderful, wonderful palette. Shade range is kind of but the quality is wonderful, and I am going to keep that. Now we're down to the e.l.f. I've saved these for last because these are really hard for me to declutter. I have an emotional attachment to these palettes for some reason. I don't know why. This is the e.l.f. Mad for Matte palette. This is a wonderful palette. The lasting power isn't fantastic, but it really is fun to use. I'm going to keep that one. The Need It Nude is also a wonderful palette. These are $10 eyeshadow palettes. Really, really like that as well. I'm going to keep that one. These two I'm going to get rid of. This is the Party Ready by e.l.f. This one is not something that I will use, and the pigmentation is hit or miss. It's just not something I'll reach for. And then the Everyday Smoky is probably the worst quality of all of them, and it's just not something that I will reach for. I have smoky palettes that I like better. I have my Revealed Smoky palette. I also have my Urban Decay Smoky palette. I will never use this, so this is going to go away. So these are the 17 palettes that I am keeping, which seems kind of ridiculous to keep 17 palettes, but I truly love them, and I really feel like I'm going to use these palettes here and there, on and off, through the next year or two. So these are the ones that I'm keeping. Right, and these are the 18 palettes that I am decluttering. So I feel like I did pretty well getting rid of half of my drugstore palette collection, passing them along to people that I think will use them more. I'm seeing a trend here looking down at these, that there are a lot of, look at these here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These here all look very similar, and then you look at this one. I mean, they're all kind of similar in tone, you know? Like, I don't know what's up with that. I don't need all of these. I don't need all of these. They're all going away. to a better home where people can use them. I'll probably bring them into work and see if anybody wants them. Oh, this one's upside down. But yeah, so I'm excited to let these go out of my collection, and you know, I don't ever say I'm letting them go in order to buy more, but if I happen to buy more, there'll be room for them. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and put the most recent episode of my makeup news show, What's Up in Makeup, over on the right hand side of the screen, so you can watch that if you like. If you click the palettes right now, it's going to take you to a mystery video, an old video of mine that I think that you will enjoy. I will also link that video down below in the description box so that you can go there if you are on a mobile device. So I want to thank you so much for watching this decluttering video, and I appreciate you so much. If you're not already subscribed, click the subscribe button, and if you are, I will see you in the next video. Mad love. Bye!